Welcome, everybody, to the Wednesday, October 15th, 2025 meeting of the Community Preservation Committee. Our main order of business this evening is to hear from the 5 applicants for this fall round of CPC funding. In this order, the order that was presented in the agenda, first the Northampton Cycling Club and the pump track. Second, the baseball scoreboard from Parks and Rec. Third, the Pioneer Valley for Humanity project on West Hampton Road. Fourth, the affordable housing project on Crafts Ave. And last, the Mineral Hills South acquisition. So that will be the main purpose of our meeting tonight. Before we get started on that, a couple things. First, and perhaps foremost, is we'd like to welcome Paul Foster Moore. Paul, welcome to the committee. Everyone. Paul is a member of the Conservation Commission. He is filling the very large shoes left by Kevin Lake, who is still on CONSCOM, but has passed the baton on to Paul. So Paul, welcome. We appreciate your
Thank you.
And looking forward to working with you.
Excited to be here.
As always, we begin our meetings with a general public comment. There was just for folks to know, this is not the meeting where we're soliciting public input on any of those 5 projects. That is for just about exactly 4 weeks from now. That will be on November the 5th. That's when we will have a meeting devoted entirely to public comment on these 5 proposals. Committee folks, we will not be meeting on October the 29th. That's 2 weeks from now. We are assuming we're going to get through all 5 of the applicant presentations tonight, and will not need to be meeting on the 29th of October. And instead, we'll be meeting on the 5th, and that is our scheduled meeting to hear from the general public. But as always, we begin with general public comment. Is there anyone out there who would like to speak to anything related to the CPC that is not sort of specific project focused? Sarah, you seeing any hands?
I am not seeing no hands.
Okay. We will then move on to approval of minutes. Sarah sent us out minutes from March the 5th, 2025. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Brian, Debin here. I move we approve the minutes, and Sarah, there's a one-word correction in the first sentence of the lead school says sage instead of safe. Would you make that correction?
Will do. Thank you.
Debin, I just assumed it was a sage place as well as a safe place.
Could be. Maybe I'm wrong.
Could be. So Debin has made a motion to approve the minutes of March 5th. Is there a second? Second from Julia. Thank you. Any further discussion other than that one word correction? Sarah?
All right. Roll call vote on the minutes. Chris Hellman?
Yes.
Lemmy?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Julia?
Yes.
Chris Tate?
Yes.
Devin?
Yes.
Paul?
Abstain.
Jeff?
Yes.
And Martha.
Yes, I was not at the meeting, but yes.
All right. Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for giving us those minutes. Moving right along to the chair's report. Just a couple of things before we move on to the projects. One is, as again noted, we will not be having a meeting on on October the 29th. We do not need that since we're going to hopefully get through all applicant presentations tonight. We will be meeting on the 5th, and that is when we will be hearing from folks in town regarding their feelings about the 5 projects that are being considered. So mark that in your calendars. Nothing on the 29th, but yes on the 5th. For those who missed it, there was a very nice front page article with a couple really nice pictures about the Ryan Road Playground in the Daily Hampshire Gazette last, I want to say Thursday or Wednesday, something about a week ago. One major issue with it is that it listed the funds that the CPC appropriated as being $270,000. There was just a little switch that they needed to do with numbers there. It was not 270,000. You will may or may not remember it was 720,000. So that's sort of a big a big mistake there. Sarah emailed them and with the correction and never sort of heard anything back. But just if people ask you that, my gosh, that's inexpensive for the amount of playground, say, well, that's really not the case. Sarah has told us that it came in actually under budget. So we may get a little bit of that money back or not have to bond quite as much. But anyway, it was nice to see that article in there. And that is it for the chair's report. Again, and welcome to Paul Foster Moore, and a goodbye to, and with much appreciation to, Kevin Lake. Okay, so tonight we're looking at 5 of the projects that have come in for funding for this fall session of the fiscal year 2025. We have available for us, we went through this in some detail last week when Sarah went over the finances with us. We have $1,937,625 available in available funds for fiscal year 2025. If we were to add up all 5 of these big proposals plus the 3 small grants that we funded last week, that comes to one, if in fact the Mineral Hills grant is not funded from the state, that comes to $1,974,465. So that is actually more money in requests than we have available for the entire fiscal year. So that's both for the fall and spring rounds. Folks not on the committee, applicants know we have the option to recommend bonding. That is one of the tools that we have in our tool shed, if in fact we can't fund all the projects. But applicants do need to know that often we make very difficult decisions on this committee. It doesn't mean we don't love the projects, we're not in favor of them. It's just that we have those fiscal constraints that are set for us. So again, requests coming in at 1.974 million, available to us 1.937 million. And that's assuming that for the Mineral Hills proposal, that the state doesn't come in with half that amount. Any questions from committee members about finances for Sarah to help clarify things? Okay, so again, our main task tonight is to listen to the 5 applicants. Applicants, we have read your proposals, so keep that in mind. And what we would like to do is to turn the floor over to you in turn, and then give you however long within limits you want to go, and then have an opportunity for us to ask questions as well. Again, no decisions are being made tonight. Also, remember, we are the body that recommends funding. It is City Council that makes that ultimate decision as to whether or not to fund. They are cognizant of the amount of work that we do and have always been very supportive of our recommendations. But no decisions are being made tonight, nor will they probably be made on November the 5th when we meet to hear what to elicit general public comment. So without further ado, up first is the pump track, the Northampton Cycling Club. Who is making that?
It'll be a tag team effort. We
Perfect.
have a PowerPoint if we can share it. And
Please.
great.
Who will be doing the sharing? Just so I'll make you a co-host.
I can do it.
All righty, give me 1 second. All right, you should be all set.
Tell me if this came through.
Looks good.
Great. Just wanted to say a big thank you to you all. Just really appreciate the work you all do. For the city. I also saw the article in the Gazette for the Ryan Road Playground. It looked awesome. So we just really appreciate the opportunity to be in front of you to present our community pump track. So the project was conceived during the pandemic. I had 2 younger boys at the time. We had a lot of time on our hands and needed to get out of the house. And so we would travel to skate parks kind of near and far, and found them, some of them less capable, some of them more capable. Um, and the one in Northampton is less capable. We'll talk a little bit more about that throughout our presentation, but it's a park that's was built a long time ago. It's got much more advanced features than beginner and intermediate features. So as a result, we kind of had to push out much further up to Turner's Falls, down to Holyoke, and even out to the eastern part of the state. And in Alston, Massachusetts, basically Cambridge, outside the Harvard Athletic Facility, there was this really cool skate park, but even a cooler pump track. And it was just amazing to watch my kids interface with it in a way that they interface differently with the skate parks. It was more accessible. They could ride their scooters, their bikes, and their skateboards on it. A lot of technical skills weren't really involved. It just was much more accessible. And so the kids were basically like, we need one of these in Northampton. And so we started to talk about it as a family, then started to talk about it as a community. And in that community, kind of starting with the Northampton Cycling Club, growing to New England Mountain Bike Association, and then kind of the larger skate community. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. And through those conversations came the ARPA application, and we got $20,000 from the city for a feasibility study. Really worked closely with Berkshire Design kind of on that feasibility study. They were really helpful because they've built a lot of skate parks and were very knowledgeable. And through that feasibility study kind of came to identify Veterans Field as kind of the ideal location. So the kind of main project aims is to kind of in Veterans Field kind of add to Northampton's park and bicycle infrastructure to be family friendly and to have the pump track be the most accessible to the youngest and least skilled riders, as well as advanced users, and also have designs that are wheelchair accessible. Just on a side note, pump tracks, like I was talking about, are much more accessible than even skate parks, particularly for, let's say, wheelchairs, because they're kind of a closed circuit with a flow and very little, if any, kind of technical kind of aspects to them versus a skate park where you get kind of steep ramps, rails, drop-ins, things like that. It's not technical like that. Just about anyone can kind of come into it and try it out and ride it and then kind of advance their skills. So in addition to those main goals, the aims was to build it in an accessible area, adjacent to the bike path, close to the businesses of downtown, and in the proximity of the highest volume of affordable housing. And this was really important. We actually got a ton of pushback on this. They kept saying, why Veterans Field? It's neglected. It doesn't look good. There's houseless folks down there. There's lots of graffiti. Why there? And for me, it was never really a question to have it anywhere else. And the reason for that is it's so accessible. We know that the highest density of public housing is in and around Veterans Field downtown. It is most accessible to people related to that affordable housing that live with disability and might use a wheelchair. There are lots of youth in the kind of downtown area. And as a result, having it there makes it the most accessible for the most amount of people. And related to that, let me back one step up. It's not uncommon for recreational spots to get built in more far-flung areas that require a car to get to or kind of excessive kind of transportation. And the less money you have, the less ability you have, the greater those challenges. And we want to kind of reduce those challenges and give people the most access possible. And I think the other part of it is, the fact that the track really presents an incredible opportunity for Veterans Field to be redeveloped and kind of enhance that area and the existing skate park, for the benefit of the whole city. We really feel that the development of this park and its proximity to the skate park and the symbiosis with the skate park is going to bring so many more people into that park, especially families, kids, but also adults. There will be a lot more adult presence in the park because of the pump track, because it's that accessible. Kind of more road cyclists like myself kind of are oriented towards a pump track. BMX riders are oriented towards a pump track, but mountain bikers are oriented towards pump tracks. So you get a much wider age range of people who use pump tracks than maybe use a skate park. At this point, I'm going to kind of turn it over to Jeff Burke. He is a part of our group. He kind of belongs to the greater skate community, and he'll tell you a little bit more about himself. And actually, before I do that, if folks don't know who I am, you can see my name. I am the co-president of the Northampton Cycling Club. And for whatever it's worth, if you're not aware, the Northampton Cycling Club has over 700 members. It's not a small group of people. And we work really hard to partner with other local bike organizations in the area. We're really proud of kind of our long-standing presence in the community, what we've done to kind of develop and enhance cycling in the community for young people, to older people. And we're just so pleased to be working with Jeff, who's going to kind of take it from here and tell you a little bit more about the accessibility features.
Thanks, Jonathan. Hi, everyone. My name is Jeff Burke. I live in Westhampton. I'm from Westfield originally. I'm currently on the Westfield Skate Park Committee. I've been working on spearheading that since 2019, and I'm also on the East Hampton Skate Park Committee also since 2019. Most recently in Westfield, we just applied for and were granted $500,000 in CPA funding for the new skate park. And in East Hampton, we were just awarded $250,000 for the new skate park. So I was connected with Jonathan and Ben throughout this process, just as they were starting their process here in Northampton. And I have a 2.5-year-old, so I was really excited to help out. I was also at the grand opening of the Northampton Skate Park in 2007. So it means a lot to me. That was the year that I was going from high school into college, and it was really the first poured in place custom concrete skate park in the area. So it was really important to the skateboard community. I grew up working at and riding for a Theory Skate Shop, which has locations in Northampton and in Holyoke. And so to have this like professional level skate park in Western Massachusetts was huge for us because we've never had something like that before. It was normally like these wooden kind of rinky-dink skate parks that, at first were built well, but then over time they kind of fell apart due to the materials that they were built out of. The Northampton skate park, I mean, it's on the map. Tony Hawk has been to it. So it's a pretty big deal. It's also, one of the things it suffered from was it because it was the first skate park in the area, and skate parks have developed so much over the last 20 years. It also has features that are somewhat more complex and, by today's standards, a little bit obsolete, in terms of the barrier to entry for beginners. So one of the things that I've been talking to the committee a lot about with is, this pump track is going to add an element to the skate park where beginners of all these different sports can get comfortable on the pump track before transitioning over into the skate park. You can really think of a pump track like a skateboard, like as a skate park is for skateboarders, a pump track is for cyclists. That being said, all of these user groups can use both complexes. So it creates a symbiotic relationship for cyclists, skateboarders, scooters, rollerblades, roller skates, and wheelchairs. So if you think about it, you have soccer fields, you have basketball courts, you have hockey rinks. These all take up so much space for all these different user groups, whereas a skate park and a pump track are accomplishing, one facility for six different groups. So having the pump track next to the skate park, next to the bike path, with a parking lot is like dream location for people like us. So, in this photo right here, you can just see this is Manchester, Connecticut. They just completed this park in 2025, and it's really common now to see the pump track right next to the skate park, so you can go in and out from one to the other. And as you'll see in the images coming up, our pump track and the existing skate park are oriented in a similar fashion to where, you'll be able to go back and forth from one to the other. So this pump track was actually built by the company that the city of Northampton is engaged with to build the Northampton pump track. So they're probably the best company in the industry and one of the few that is building these types of facilities. And in Western Massachusetts, it will be like the first and only, not in just the Pioneer Valley, but in the Berkshires as well. That being said, we have very few public skate parks in the valley currently. We just got a new park built in Greenfield and in Springfield. So these types of free facilities for these types of user groups are extremely rare in our area. You have Thunder Mountain up in Charlemont, and you have Central Rock Gym in Hadley. These are really cool, non-traditional sports facilities, but they are private facilities that you have to pay an entry to get into. So to have these like free, non-traditional sporting facilities in our area and having them interact with each other is just such a cool opportunity. So I'm really excited to be a part of this group.
Thank you, Jeff. Trying to I was trying to move forward there we go. Great. Folks can still hear me and see the Veterans Field enhancement slide. Great. So just to very quickly to kind of build off of what Jeff is saying, I think the idea that pump tracks exist as an alternative to organized sports, not every kid is able to be or wants to be involved in organized sports like soccer, like basketball, and so on. There is a whole slew of young people that want to be engaged in some sort of physical activity that isn't those things. And especially, now in this day and age with, cell phones and social media, there's such a thirst for kids and such a need for kids to kind of be out of their houses, off their devices, and kind of in the community. And skate parks and pump tracks really kind of cater to a demographic, again, that organized sports doesn't necessarily do. You're going to be hearing next week from Emily Body from the Spiffy, and she's part of a kind of a Less Screen Coalition, the Spiffy Coalition, and they're going to talk with you about that. There's a lot of evidence that shows how important these types of open, free, accessible park and recreational opportunities are to young people, especially now. And related to that, I was talking about how this is such an incredible opportunity for Veterans Field because of the skate park, as cool as it is with Tony Hawk being there. But the fact that it has so many advanced features essentially leaves a lot of the young people who go to it not able to kind of engage with it. And as a result, they start to kind of engage in undesirable behavior like graffiti. And so the general idea by having the pump track, the Northampton Cycling Club is dedicated with a set of our membership volunteers to clean up Veterans Field. We will remove we will take this on. We will remove graffiti off the skate park. We will remove graffiti off the playground. We will clean up the area, beautify it. We will have work days and regular maintenance to clean things up. In working with Parks and Recreation through the feasibility study, it became really clear that Department of Public Works didn't have the capacity to kind of take on more kind of work if the pump track was to be built. So we said, we got it. For a few years, we'll take lead. We really think that we can A, do a good job, B, it'll really kind of enhance that area. And not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but ultimately with the way that we want the pump track situated, you know, eventually maybe a couple years down the road, that there'll be an evolution of the skate park and we'll fill in the gap between the skate park and the pump track to add the beginner and intermediate features, which will then even add more families, more young people, and make it a park like Unity Park, like Holyoke Skate Park, you know, that's really for more family friendly, available for everyone, and kind of works for the whole community. So with that, want to turn it over. I think it's going to be Ben Jankowski, who's a part of both the Northampton Cycling Club and NEMBA. Ben, you ready?
Yeah, I can take this on unless Sam, you want to take this.
Or I can fill in if you want to lead.
I can get it. Yeah, sure. Hey y'all, I'm Ben Jankowski. I'm on the board with Northampton Cycling Club along with Jonathan Brody. I'm also on the board of Western Mass New England Mountain Bike Association, which is the broader kind of mountain bike lobbying group for New England. We have a chapter out here, Western Mass, and we're super big supporters of this project. We think it's going to be, based on what we've seen with pump tracks that are elsewhere in New England, this is going to be a fantastic resource for Northampton. So this page is showing some kind of general usage statistics for kind of pump tracks that are about the size of what we're planning to be put in. There's an incredible amount of laps that are done by kids and family members that are riding on their bikes or scooters or wheelchairs around these paved pump tracks. I was just talking with the folks up at Keene Bike Park, which is not a paved pump track, but it's a very similar size in terms of how large the location is. Bike related, kind of like kid friendly bike park up in Keene, New Hampshire. It's totally oriented to the same kind of demographics. And they were kind of saying that they get about, on average, 10 people a day to their bike park. Even on, like, I've been there in the middle of the day on an odd weekday, and inevitably there'll be somebody there. These pump tracks and bike parks are things that people come and seek out as a resource, even if they're from neighboring towns, and especially users in town. So the largest user groups at this Keene Bike Park, at Alston, Velo Solutions, which is the company that's making this bike park that we're advocating for, and Velo Solutions also create one in Cumberland. the largest user group by far is kids. And you can see that in these statistics, with a large number being young adults. Uh, there were also some recent really interesting impact studies for mountain biking and for kind of the impact of bike destinations. And this pump track is definitely going to be a high impact bike destination for us in this region. We don't have any others like this other than the closest ones being in Allston, Mass and Cumberland, Rhode Island. So this is going to be a place that people are going to seek out for tourism, but also for people that are seeking out a destination to move to. I have a friend who moved to Amherst mostly based on a mix of employment, but also in large part based on the recreational possibilities that are here, and available for him and his family. And so you're going to see people coming to Northampton based on these kind of resources, stuff like this. The more enhancement that we can get for recreational possibilities is going to be a really major draw for young families that are especially working remotely, and are looking for stuff like that. This is from a report by the Trust for Public Lands, the one based in the Adirondacks that found similar findings. There's also a recent study by the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission along with Franklin Regional Planning Authority and Berkshire Planning Authority, funded by a Mass Trails grant in 2023. And that report was really fascinating and great, super helpful for us at NEMBA. And one of their major recommendations was trying to make trails and mountain biking as accessible as possible. And they centered a lot of that on pump tracks and bike parks, saying that, you know, the less transportation hurdles you have to get to one of these places, the more accessible it can be. And the fact that this is on this potential location at Veterans Park is going to be literally, you can take the bike path from Jackson Street School all the way down, stay on the bike path the entire way, and you pop right there. Or you come out, I think you can jump on from Bridge Street with just a street over to the bike path, or JFK, all in Leeds. You can, even East Hampton kids can take the bike path all the way over there without having to worry. Their parents don't have to worry about them on these trails. And just because based on its location being so centrally downtown, this is really, this bike park is really going to be fulfilling a lot of these findings from the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, which is really great. One other finding from the Trust for Public Lands study on mountain biking impacts is they did find that a lot of mountain biking destinations and specific locations did boost property owners that home values that were adjacent to locations like that. So this is something that I think we can probably expect, especially with Veterans Park, which is a resource low park. It doesn't have a whole lot of amenities, but the more you build up stuff like this, like Brody was referring to before, the more we revitalize Veterans Park, I think that we can really expect that those home prices around there might be buoyed, and especially that area will be seen as more revitalized and attractive to homeowners and existing homeowners that live, and a lot of renters I know are in the area. Brody, if you want to jump ahead to the next slide.
Yeah, maybe just one thing to add to what Ben was saying in regards to the accessibility for the young people. In our application, we noted that there's some informal pump tracks, dirt pump tracks that have been built in and around town. One is off of the bike trail on the up towards Look Park, and there's another off of Riverside Drive, kind of near the high school. And, you know, that's cool. But the issue is that, you know, they're in the middle of the woods, you know, with lots of obstacles, you know, and like the one off of the bike trail towards Look Park was literally littered with litter, including rusting debris. I kind of came upon it with my kid. There was a bunch of kids working there, and people are pulling out like big rusty beds, big metal, you know, kind of apparatus, and it's not totally safe. And, if something kind of dangerous was to happen there, there isn't kind of any sort of oversight or anything like that. And it's dirt. And so they do a lot of work on it. A big rain comes, washes stuff away. Someone comes in, mistreats it. So for us, it was really important to have a paved pump track in a public park, for all the reasons I just mentioned. So I don't need to go through all this, but just so that you all have it for your reference, kind of the overall progress from kind of the spring of 2022 to kind of now, it's been a journey for all of us. We're all volunteer. Um, and kind of the more detailed timeline is, after the site selection, there's been a site inspection, land survey, some plans and specs that were done by Berkshire Design. And so we're really kind of moving into that kind of budget funding and construction contract kind of part of the planning and development. So you can see there's going to be, depending on what our funding situation is, whether it's sooner or later, we'll kind of move into that construction timeline. And then, of course, there's the maintenance timeline. So we've been referring to kind of the skate park and Veterans Field. So this is what the layout would look like. You can see there's that gap between the pump track and the skate park that we've been referring to, that hopefully eventually we'll be able to kind of make additions to the skate park for beginner and intermediate features and link the two together. But for right now, they kind of stand somewhat separate. It's designed, it's positioned in a way that will work in regards to the wetland that's kind of nearby, and for drainage that we'll talk about in just a moment. Maybe one note of the track, we've actually gone through a couple iterations of the design. The first design was a little too simplistic for us. And this one kind of, I think, is a bit more dynamic, and it includes on on the downward corner, kind of looking at the page to the, down low left, the wall ride. So that will be like a wooden kind of wall that if you are a more advanced rider, you can kind of ride up and come down. It's super cool. So you can see the kind of general flow of the track. You all have this. I won't kind of belabor it, and I'm not an engineer, so I couldn't tell you too much about it anyways. This functions very similar to the track in Allston, Massachusetts that I've ridden with my kids, and it's just amazing. You should see their faces when they ride it. It's just a joy. So we think it's there for the youngest, least kind of able riders to kind of advanced riders. It's really got something for everyone. We talked about that the paving was key. We talked about having a dirt track. There was a lot of pushback within the community. There's some kind of dirt purists that really believe in dirt tracks. But dirt tracks require a lot of maintenance, weekly, monthly. And if you don't have a core group of people that are attending to it, they kind of fall apart, within a year, 2 years, maybe 3 years or so. And we didn't want that. We want something like the skate park that will be around for generations to come, that can kind of weather the ebb and flow, of the population and its desires and so on and so forth. And so paving really was the way to go. What's really nice about paving is if it needs to be patched, it can be patched. And this company, Velo Solutions, they're like the preeminent pump track builder in the world. They really know what they're doing. These are kind of built to function, built to last. So we feel really confident in that material and that technology. Little piece about drainage. If folks are wondering, you can see on this page the little kind of grass areas in between the track, and you can probably you might be able to see the drains in those. So when they design, if and when the pump track gets built, similar to the skate park, they're going to build it up, and then they're going to put drainage underneath it. So all its drainage kind of needs will be to kind of the engineering specs. All the water will get kind of pulled away, to where it needs to go. And of course, with the site inspection, it's been such that it does not impact the wetland. It's kind of all within, those kind of guidelines and recommendations. So really, we'll continue to enhance the design development as a next step. The site survey, I believe the wetland flagging's been done, and I believe the soil analysis has been done. We can get you more information on that. Again, those are engineering reports that I don't understand. So we'll get Carlos from Berkshire Design if you all have any questions or need anything in and around that. I want to turn it over to Sam to talk about the budget. So Sam, please.
Yeah, so this again was in the application that was sent out, but just to kind of reiterate, so we're into essentially getting into the phase one. So we've completed the feasibility study, pump track art design, and as Jonathan mentioned, survey, wetlands flagging have been done already, but are close to being done by Berkshire Designs. So then all that cost has essentially been paid for through ARPA and fundraising. And then we're kind of getting into the phase one, phase two costs that we're looking to this application to fund. Yeah, that just includes a lot of permitting, construction documents, all that kind of background and site preparation, earthwork and drainage. And the sort of the concrete includes just the sort of path leading to the pump track itself. And it would be turf grass between the pump track just for low maintenance. And then the construction costs would be paid directly to American Ramp Company. And then it includes a 15% construction contingency in case of increasing costs. Sorry. And then, yes, this is the funding that we've essentially already received. This is the Berkshire Design was in kind. Basically, they discounted the feasibility study cost to $10,000 because they're all riders and believe in the project. Concept design was through a combination of donations and through NCC donations. Yeah, then the in-kind work is below, with the total funding coming to 48,000, and then the remaining balance that we're committed to still fundraising is 38,000. Then the 633,000 is the CPA request.
So that kind of brings us to questions.
Thank you, Jonathan and Jeff and Sam, and there was somebody else too.
Ben.
Ben, thank you. Maybe we can stop screen sharing for a moment, Sarah, so all our faces can come up. Here we go. Committee members, are there questions for the pump track folks? Any questions? Lemmy?
Yeah. Hi. Hi, Jonathan.
Lemmy, great to see you.
Good to see you. I was wondering if there are any unhoused folks involved in this project, involved in the proposal. I know Veterans Field is a, I worry about displacement, but also just general involvement in the proposal and making sure that they're participating in that.
It's a great question. On our list is to reach out to the DCC and talk with them about, what's being proposed and what they're thinking in and around, impact. And, maybe take their lead in connecting to the houseless community that, so many folks are kind of living adjacent, kind of on the other side of the mill from there. So, and happy to kind of raise that on the list and report back. In fact, I will I'll make an effort to do that before November 5th.
Chris Hellman?
Thanks, Brian, and thank you everybody for all the work you did on this. Is obviously a lot of efforts gone into it so far. as Brian pointed out at the beginning of this evening, we're budget constrained. We're already oversubscribed, depending on one of the grants that one of our other project applicants is looking at, and that's just with one round. So we're going to be looking for ways to, at least I'm going to be looking for ways to reduce costs this time up, not without shortchanging any of the projects. And there are a number of projects that we're going to be reviewing that. Uh, the timing of funding is imperative because of grants that are in place or things that are going to be leveraged or availability of land and that kind of thing. But it sounded to me as I was listening to you that your timeline is a little bit more fluid and that it's actually being driven more by resources than any sort of scheduling constraints. And I just want to be sure I'm not misunderstanding that, and also get you thinking about how you might phase this out as far as budget goes.
Yeah. Do you want to hear anything from us related to that?
I absolutely do. That's that's why we're
Yeah.
all here.
Yeah.
I can speak to that a little bit, Jonathan,
Yeah, please.
if you don't mind. Yeah, so I've been working on a few of these projects in other towns, as I said previously, and a lot of times they take a really long time to get done. 6, 7, 8 years to get built. I think the first Northampton skate park was around 10. This project, if fully funded, can be shovels in the ground next year. So it's not something that you're funding to do phase one, then later on coming back to fund phase two. We went through that in Westfield where we funded the design, and then 3 years later we came back to fund a portion of the construction, but we're waiting on a grant. If this park gets fully funded, then it can be built next year, and then it's done. Then we can look at the results and say, hey, what other enhancements can we look at later on down the line for Veterans Field? Because obviously it's not just the pump track, it's not just the skate park, it's the playground, it's everything there. So I think getting this park funded is phase one to getting the entire greater facility upgraded, but having just like something completed is good and something to be proud of.
Yeah, and related to that, we've got some great momentum going. There's some great energy, with the community, with the fundraising. And I think I'd be a little concerned about, kind of volunteer effort fatigue, if it kind of continues to get pushed out, you know, multiple years. And like Jeff's saying, I think we've got an incredible opportunity now, and that park needs attention now. In fact, you could make an argument that park has needed attention for years, if not longer. And I think there's a great opportunity to kind of do that right now, start to enhance it, start to change the culture there, and really make it a incredible community gathering place that's really accessible to the people that arguably need it the most, that have least access to the other farther flung areas, of the city.
I just want to jump in here too. One other thing, I'm a South Street resident and aware of kind of like what the Main Street redesign looks like in the coming years, and knowing the timeline of kind of like what a build right now could look like, and knowing also based on kind of like what we've seen on other pump tracks drawing in tourism, that this pump track could be a real generator of tourism to the town and to downtown businesses, especially like downtown eateries and shopping centers, and could be a boon for that kind of thing at the same time. But to have that kind of a line, that would have to be a build that would be pretty soon. And so what Jeff and Brody are saying is that this is a very shovel ready project. We have the designs in, all the survey work, and it's really ready to go. It's this funding, and I think this park really needs to be kind of, yeah, have some love very soon. Jack.
Martha?
Yeah, thanks. And I appreciate I appreciate this idea, but also I appreciate the justification for the service you're providing to such a needy community. It seems it's well thought out. One of my questions for you is about the location of this. I did go down there and take a look at it. It does say in the application that this is it can be a pretty wet site. Did I understand that? Okay. So I just wanted to be sure that you're giving some thought, or I should say the engineers are giving some thought that there may be some additional engineering that needs to be done to control any groundwater that maybe you have to deal with, because that could affect the longevity of the pavement especially. So I just wanted to put that out there for you and your team to think about.
100%. I wish Carlos from Berkshire Design was here because he'd be able to speak to this. When we did the feasibility study public meeting, he spoke to that. I wish I had the graphic in front of you all, but he showed us the wetland map, and basically the water line is still very far from where the track is being built. And I've, over the past few years, as we've kind of been, really thinking about this area, I've gone down at multiple different parts of the year. Particularly, I try to get down there whenever we've had like the biggest rains and multiple rains for days. And it just doesn't, it gets to kind of just beyond the edge of the woods, and then that's it. And then just to reinforce, the idea is that this thing is getting built up. And so just it'll be at level of the skate park. I forget it. I want to say it's like 4 feet, 5 feet, something like that. That
Yeah,
it
four
gets,
feet, right?
yeah, at the lowest part, right, Sam? And then the highest part, because right, people are going to kind of drop into it because you want to get some momentum as you kind of go through it on a bike or a scooter, whatever.
Yeah.
And so, what's that, Sam?
Oh, yeah, I'm just saying, you're right. I think we have the design or the layout of the drainage in the application at least.
Okay, great. Yeah, so the point is just the lowest part will be 4.5, 4 to 5 feet higher than the grade. And then then it goes even higher. So they've taken all of that into account, and obviously we trust we trust them.
One
Thank
other
you.
thing that, oh, sorry. One other thing that's also a plus is that Berkshire Design and Carlos Nieto, who's the principal there and designed this, was working on the engineering with us for this project, was actually one of the, did the site surveying for the original skate park as well. And so they found that there's also existing drainage lines below the skate park that they're able to tie into. And yeah, he was able to kind of like explain this in depth at our first public meeting on Parks and Rec. And the other really nice thing is that Berkshire Design, who did this really thorough engineering survey and study ahead of time, has worked with the city in many occasions, as Anne Marie can probably attest to. They're great to work with. Check.
Julia?
Thanks. This has been a really useful presentation. Appreciate hearing again about the pump track. The word community shows up in your application about 25 times. It's actually in the title here. But when I look at the community that you list, it is Parks and Rec, but it's a lot of bike. But you talk about creating something that's going to be accessible to multiple communities, including a community of wheelchair users. So it would have been helpful for me in the application to see their support, or how you've reached out to them, how you know that this pump track, which should it be built, would get a lot of press initially, how we're going to make sure that people know to come. I know you have a newsletter, it goes out to your people, and there's a lot of internal communication. How do we make sure that we're building something that's really going to be for use of the greater population?
Yeah, great question. You all will be getting a letter from Karen Foster and All Out Adventures. They are big, strong supporters of the park. We have brought them into our cycling programming. So we have a gravel ride that we do every spring, and similar to your point, it often kind of historically has felt insular and just for kind of able-bodied folk. I so happen my undergraduate degree is in outdoor education with an emphasis on the therapeutic and universal design of the outdoors. I'm now a psychotherapist and a licensed independent clinical social worker. So this idea is really near and dear to my heart. And I do think that there is an element that if we build it, they will come. If we build it, we will create programming, just like we did reaching out to All Out Adventures and bringing them into our spring ride to host events, workshops. I know there's a group that just bought that Chesterfield camp. Those are folks that we want to reach out to, to say, hey, we've got this resource. If you're interested, it's here for you. We're reaching out to Jeremy Dubbs, Counselor Dubbs, and we'll continue to kind of reach out to, communities that that I think, can benefit from this. So, yeah, it's really important to me personally, and I think to the NCC and NEMBA as organizations.
I have a quick anecdote that I think is kind of speaks to how accessible this project is and the reach of it at the moment. Our first public meeting with Parks and Rec was a standing room only event at the Northampton Meeting Center and was overflowing. It was really cool to get so many people. And one of the folks that came down was a dad, and he came down from Huntington. And he came down, he was wicked excited. He was still in his landscaping clothes. He was like, my son told me, and his son is 6 and a really big BMXer up in the hill towns. And he's like, my son told me I had to be here. I had to ask for this. He's like, we don't have anything like this in the area. And yeah, that was a really cool and special moment, I think, for a lot of us. But yeah, just to reiterate Brody's point, like there's a really large reach on these specific like pump tracks. A lot of people look out for them. And that's a lot of scooter users too, and skateboarders. And that's part of the reason why Jeff is involved here too.
Yeah. And anecdotally, if I think about the time that I spent at skate parks with my kids, skate parks are places, where kids that maybe are more neurodiverse hang out. You see a lot of kids maybe with ADHD, maybe on the spectrum. Um, and, because organized sports doesn't work for them, and again, these are like outdoor accessible places for in the skate culture in bike culture and pump track culture is one where kind of everyone is welcome and everyone works together, and there's this like really wonderful like individualization that happens as well as kind of group support, and they people can kind of toggle in and toggle out as they're kind of comfortable. And again, I think with the skate park being kind of with more advanced features, I've watched families with kids with special needs kind of go there and then kind of very quickly be like, oh, there isn't kind of so much for my kid to do here. With the addition of the pump track, I think there'll be a lot more for all sorts of types of kids, whether they're neurotypical or atypical, to be able to enjoy. That's my sense, just anecdotally from my experience in and around skate parks and pump tracks.
Any other questions from committee members? All right,
I have some questions, Brian.
yes.
Well, I think this is a beautifully conceived project that dovetails wonderfully with the needs of the community. And I have 3 questions. One is, do you have data projecting how many users are going to make use of this facility, coming from so many different towns and regions? That's the first question. The second question is, what happens to it in the winter when we have heavy snows? And then thirdly, I'm assuming that Berkshire Design has taken this into consideration, but how close to the wetlands would the track be?
Yeah, so going kind of backwards, I think there was a great question earlier about the wetlands. Um, and it's far enough from the wetlands for it not to be an issue.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's all been kind of flagged out, really kind of thought of by Carlos of Berkshire Design, who designed the skate track. So he's very familiar with that area, and it will get built up so that will be much less of a
Mhm.
or no factor.
Yeah.
And so that's with the wetlands. In regards to the winter, it'll get snowed on. If people want to be able to use it, they would have to shovel it.
Okay.
We definitely would not want salt on it for sure. But it could be shoveled. But the beauty of it and why we went paved asphalt versus dirt is if you have a dirt track, like what happens is if there's rain coming or snow coming,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
crew has to go out and cover the whole thing, or else it basically gets wrecked like every storm.
Yeah.
This will not.
Yep.
And then in regards to the user data, Ben may be able to speak to more of this. We asked Keen, they thought between like 10 and 15 users daily on average. They said that it's been much higher at times, particularly kind of coming out of the pandemic when it first opened. We got an anecdote from Velo Solutions. They did like a pump track event. They had like a organized event for one out in Colorado, and they estimate there was hundreds, if not thousands, of people that came out, and they estimated that with the money that came into the town, to the city or the town over that weekend, that they paid for the track in like one weekend. So those are the kind of things I think by having the NCC involved and by having NEMBA involved and having honestly Jeff Burke who had to jump off. Jeff's an incredible individual in regards to the skate community. He's gotten skate parks built in other communities. He's really got his finger on the pulse there, and he's got a young kid. Like all of us, right? My kids aren't so young when they're getting older from when this idea started. But the whole idea is we want a place, to kind of be with our kids, to celebrate with our kids, and to bring in the larger community and have events, have skills clinics, have camps, have festivals, have parties.
Well,
That's honestly like what we do. But
thank
we
you.
do it on the road, or we do it, in a far-flung kind of remote gravel area or a mountain bike area that isn't super accessible.
Hmm.
We want to do bike stuff that everyone can get to, so that it's not just the privilege that can get out there. It's not just the able-bodied that can get out there. And the NCC is totally dedicated to that.
Thank you.
Yep.
I could maybe also briefly just add to the usage numbers. The Keene Bike Park they responded when we asked them for some of their usage numbers. They're slightly different because they're a dirt pump track or a dirt bike park, so it's not quite what we have. It's a little bit less accessible for riders and scooters. You can't have scooters and other stuff on that. But in the summer, of course, like numbers bump up. So they were seeing about, they guess is like 30 to 40 people a day in the summer. And then on events, they were getting upwards of like 80 to 300 people
Wow.
when they hosted those. The Cumberland pump track is actually probably the closest design to what we're working with Fellow Solutions, Cumberland, Rhode Island. And it's it's in a larger recreational city park, but so it maybe doesn't apply completely, but we went there over the summer to check it out, and it was pretty amazing. There's a lot of kids on Strider bikes, so those are the ones that don't pedal. There's kids on scooters, and the person who started that project up, Willem Cooper, was saying that on an average day, that paved pump track probably gets about 20 to 30 kids a day, and or all the users in a day. And then in the summer when we were there, there must have been just parents sitting down on the benches beside it, watching their kids. There must have been like 30 kids there.
Yeah.
So really high user numbers for sure.
Ben, so just to build on that, Ben, was it Montreal that you just were?
Unfortunately not.
So Ben,
But
Ben,
Carlos, the engineer, was up there at a Velo Solutions pump track.
and he sent this video of this pump track that they just built, and there's music going and young kids with their parents going around the pump track and teenagers off to the side doing their thing. There's something about, kind of these kind of wheeled activities that kind of create kind of a festival type atmosphere, that is kind of unique and special. It's not two teams competing against each other. It's kind of everyone coming out and kind of doing their own thing. Like I said earlier, kind of somewhat separate, but somewhat together. And they can just they really can be magnets for community. They really can. Like kind of every time they're built, that's basically what happens. It's really, it's really exciting.
We're going to try to wrap this segment up. Any other questions from committee members? Ben and Sam and Jonathan, thank you very much for your presentations. Keep in mind that public comment night is November the 5th. That's a Wednesday on Zoom at 7 o'clock. Written comments are also accepted anytime before or soon after. Thank you, all three and the fourth who left, for a very detailed presentation. And in the interest of time, we will encourage you to stay, but you're welcome to leave, the three of you. Moving right along to the Parks and Rec folks with the baseball scoreboard proposal. Sarah, who's doing that for us?
I'm Shelby.
Yeah.
Oh,
Shelby, thank you.
Hi.
Okay, hi, Shelby.
Sarah, if you can help me get my presentation.
Yes. Let me make you a co-host. Give me 1 second.
Thank you. Let's see.
You should be all
Okay.
set.
There. Okay. All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Shelby Mitchna. I am the Assistant Director with Parks and Recreation. This is my first time meeting with you and presenting to you, so I thank you very much for that opportunity. We're going to switch gears here a little bit, and we're talking about adding potentially a couple scoreboards to our beautiful Florence recreation fields down on Spring Street. That's what I'm here to talk to you about tonight. This is just a picture, and I'm going to skip through the next one. The beautiful Florence recreation fields down on Spring Street is one of the city's newest and most beautiful recreation facilities in our city. A lot of time, energy, and money has gone into that beautiful project over the last 20 years. And so we are looking now to expand the amenities that we have down there for the facilities. There's 2 baseball fields, several soccer fields, a beautiful pavilion building. This specific application is to install 2 electronic scoreboards at the 2 baseball fields. Part of this project, we have secured funding already for the actual scoreboard themselves. We are looking for funding from you guys potentially to help us pay for the installation of these scoreboards. So this here is actually just a picture of this year's high school JV baseball team who uses Florence Field as their home field. Northampton High School baseball uses their own field for the varsity team, but the JV's team's home field is our Florence Recreation Field 90-foot baseball diamond. So that was them this spring. Just want to show that to you. So this project would benefit all the youth in our community who regularly use the baseball field. So there is community baseball leagues that use both. There's 2 diamonds down there, a 70-foot diamond and then a 90-foot baseball diamond. And the youth programs more use the 70-foot diamond, which is an intermediate diamond. And it's kind of the segue between the smaller diamonds for youth baseball that you see at like McDonald Field, which are like 60-foot diamonds. That 70-foot diamond is at Florence Fields, and it's used for kids who are probably 9 to 12 or so, and then they move up to the bigger diamond. So generally speaking, I would say in Northampton, there's 3 to 4 home teams that use those fields just specifically for baseball in the spring. At the 70-foot, and then there is, like I already mentioned, the JV baseball team that uses Florence Fields. Also, the high school freshman team uses Florence Fields. And then they also have several teams who play Northampton baseball who plays on the 90-foot diamond as well. So although this would generally benefit all those community baseball teams, if we were able to do this, we would also like to expand our programming to offer other programs there. During COVID, we did start doing other programs like an adult wiffle ball, an adult kickball league, and those different programs that could be used at the fields would also benefit from scoreboards. So just on the bottom here, when you have a scoreboard at a field, it makes everything a little bit easier. Everybody kind of knows what's going on. They know how many outs there are, what the score is, what inning, all of that in the having that so everybody can see would be a super benefit. It would definitely add an extra amenity to the already beautiful fields down there. We have bathrooms. And we have that beautiful pavilion building, but it would be really nice to have scoreboards. Potentially, we could then be hosting tournaments or other types of things. We do have different teams coming in from other neighboring communities to come play baseball against our Northampton teams. And it already draws a lot of people because it is such a beautiful spot, but just adding the scoreboards would definitely enhance the already existing beauty of the facility down there. We have partnered with the Ray Ellabrook Field Fund. Ray Ellabrook was a former recreation director in Northampton for 26 years. And he was an amazing leader and an amazing proponent of improving facilities in Northampton. He acquired Parcel C, which is now named Ellabrook Field, where our newest pickleball courts are at. He was working tirelessly to add different amenities to our city. And so his family, he passed away in 2013. His family created a fund to help fund projects in our community that were directly related to Ray's vision and mission within our city. So his family, who is pictured here, Wendy and his 2 sons, are going to donate these scoreboards for us. We have a commitment letter from them. And so we are just looking for a CPC to help us fund the actual installation. The scoreboards themselves are about, I'll show you the budget graphic in a little bit here, but the scoreboards themselves are about 1/3 of the overall project cost. And again, they are going to donate those to us. So we are very grateful for them and their support and all the projects they've done in the city too. So this next slide is just a kind of an example of what the proposed scoreboards would look like. Pretty basic scoreboards. We're not looking to do anything super fancy here. Again, just the basic information of them, but I wanted to take a minute to show you what that might look like going forward. In the background here, these are all pictures of our Florence Fields and kids playing at our fields. So this next slide is a quotation from a company specifically with the costs and then the installation costs. So we were unable to get 3 quotes. I did reach out to different companies. And so we're estimating the installation cost, but we think that this is a pretty good estimate for that. So it just shows the 2 scoreboards themselves. There's a wireless controller that operates the scoreboard, all the kind of details of what goes with it, and then at the bottom is the installation cost, their estimated installation cost, which is $24,068. And again, that's from one specific company, but it gives us an estimate of kind of what we're looking for here. Again, we're hoping to be able to put these scoreboards up and add them to these beautiful facility that we have in Northampton. It's just, these fields are utilized by so many people, soccer, baseball. So many people are walking around the track. It's just such a beautiful spot in our town, in our city. And so we just would really like the opportunity to be able to enhance our fields and facilities. Let's see. We got they're all in your application packet, but we got several letters of support. Some from our athletic director here in Northampton, as the Northampton High School does use Florence Fields for a couple of their baseball teams, the JV and the freshmen, like I said. Lots and lots of youth baseball players. The middle picture there is little guys, probably 5-year-olds, participating in a new clinic that we started this spring on Sunday afternoons to introduce kids to the game of baseball down there at Florence Fields. So the Northampton Athletic Booster Club, there's also a letter of support from them. The former and current coaches, baseball coaches from Northampton High School, we have letters of support from them. And certainly lots of parents and families attend the games down there, are very much in support of this project. And there's a few letters in there too that we shared with you. So short presentation, but I hope that you will consider adding these scoreboards down there or helping us add these scoreboards. I think would be a super investment to, again, just a super place, a super facility that we have in our city. So I think that's it. I'll just welcome any questions.
Thank you, Shelby. Can we get out of screen sharing here?
I think.
Great. Questions from committee members for Shelby? Shelby, forgive me, what is your position again with Parks and Rec?
Sure, sorry. I'm the assistant director. Anne-Marie couldn't be here today, so I'm doing the presentation.
Pinch hitting for Anne Marie.
Yeah, we're doing it together. Yeah.
Good. Good. Thank you for the presentation. Any questions from committee members? Devin.
It wasn't mentioned, but I like seeing that we were getting in-kind support from the city's electric. I suppose that's through Central Services, but they're actually doing the electric hookup without a charge to you, right?
Yeah, so Jim Malo, who's the city electrician, has already met us out there actually, and he's going to actually dig the trenches. There's electricity right now in the pavilion, and he's agreed to dig the trenches and install the electric line from the pavilion out to the scoreboards. So the city will be contributing to this project in that way. Yes. Yeah.
Any other questions for Shelby? Okay, Shelby has noted already, public is invited to attend our November 5th meeting to weigh in with comments, and letters of support can be sent anytime from now on. Thank you very much for your presentation. We appreciate it, and thank you for sticking around. You're welcome to stay on. Moving right along, up next is Pioneer Valley Habitat for Humanity. I see Megan is here. Megan, I assume you're the presenter for the West Hampton Road small house cottage, however you're calling it.
Yep, thank you very much for having me here tonight. Sarah, do I have permission to share screen?
You should now.
Great. And this might sound familiar to you because I have been here before, and I appreciate the support that the CPA committee has provided to Habitat's projects in the city. And let's see. Yeah. So I don't think I need to tell you this, but very briefly, Habitat builds homes in Hampshire and Franklin County, and then we sell them to people with low incomes. We build simple homes and use donated materials to keep costs low. And then we sell the homes with an affordable mortgage so that the new homeowners can have long-term equity in their home. And the home buyers contribute sweat equity alongside community volunteers to help build their home. We purchased a building lot this summer, and this is maybe our quickest turnaround time from acquiring land to trying to build a house. It was a small, pre-existing grandfathered lot on West Hampton Road. Because of its small size, it was a little bit more affordable than some other building lots in Northampton. And we had some other projects with delays, and we're eager to get something else on our construction schedule for this winter. So this small lot on West Hampton Road is very close to Woodland Drive, where we just completed a home. Our plan is to build a single-story adaptable home. It would be a simple 1-bedroom, 1-bath home. We would build it to our high energy standards, focusing on building an all-electric home that could be Energy Star certified, focusing on a simple building envelope and high efficiency mechanicals. It would be a slab on grade house, no basement, but we would do a small attached shed so the homeowners would have places to store things like bicycles or lawnmowers. We have already started the application cycle for this, and applications are due on October 21st. So if you know anyone who's interested, now is the time to apply. Tomorrow night, I'll be doing an information session on Zoom, which is a perfect opportunity to get more details. And the application is available on our website, but also you can fill it out by paper and a number of other methods. But you can see that the income range that we're targeting is between a minimum of $30,000 per year and a maximum income that's 60% of the area median income. So the home would be sold to someone earning less than 60% of the area median income. We cleared the site of trees, and the foundation is pouring. It started last week, so we are rapidly trying to get the slab in so we can start framing in November. So this is a late in the season addition for us, but it's a small house, and we're going to have a lot of fun getting the construction volunteers out for a little bit of a building blitz next month. Our overall budget for the project is $315,920. And we, because we only acquired this parcel this summer, we're now in rapid fundraising mode. We're kind of doing this as we start the project. Our request to the CPA is for $75,000. We're also going to put you know, we have some other funding requests out to local foundations and other sources to potentially help fund this project. And I kept it short so that you can ask me questions.
So can we lose this? Great, thank you. As always, thank you, Megan. Questions for Megan? Martha?
Yeah, thanks, Megan. It's always a great presentation. You mentioned in the application, you were addressing the question about trying to serve the local community. And I guess I know that you try to reach out to Northampton people as much as possible. I'm just curious, in the past, recent past, have most of your owners come from Northampton? Are they from far away? What's the profile look like?
Yeah, I don't have that statistic at the tip of my fingers, but I'd be happy to get that for you as a follow-up. You know, we do have applicants from Northampton, definitely, but also from the region as a whole. I mean, I think that housing is often a regional issue where people may, you know, sometimes we have people who have been in Northampton their whole lives and have finally gotten priced out and recently moved out of the city and want to come back. Or sometimes we've had people who love this area but have never been able to afford it. So it's, it can be both ends of that spectrum.
Other questions for Megan? Chris Hellman?
Megan, good to see you. I actually live right down the street from this, and I was surprised at how quickly they got it all cleared and started digging. But I guess that's sort of part of my question, which is normally when we're asked to support a project like this, it isn't as far along as this one currently is. And I guess what I'm really asking is, if for whatever reason we're not able to fund it or fully fund it, where does that leave you?
Yeah, this project, we in the last year or two, we've managed to run into every possible legal delay with other projects. So we've had uh, just a number of unforeseeable delays and other things. So the reason we are jumping on this one so quickly is because we wanted to have something, we wanted to be serving another family this year. We wanted to have work for our volunteers to be doing over the winter. So we moved very rapidly, and we had the extra expense of having to buy the lot versus having donated lots, which has happened in the city of Northampton. So we would very much appreciate the support as fully as you can. If you can't give us every dollar we requested, we would still build the house, but it takes away resources from future projects. So, I mean, we would work hard to fundraise in the community, but what's likely to happen is, less funding we receive, the more we have to dip into other unrestricted funds that could have been put towards future projects.
Got it. That's helpful. Thank you.
Other questions for Megan? Devin?
Just a comment, Megan. I applaud your use of Simple City Studios. They've got the right sensibilities, and I think it's a really good match for your work.
Thank you. I'll tell Brian.
Megan, a follow-up question on that. Is this the smallest house you've ever built?
It's not. It's actually it's pretty similar to the house we built on Burt's Pit Road. And we had two 3-house projects on Burt's Pit Road, but we had one 3-house project that had a 2-bedroom, a 1-bedroom, and a 3-bedroom. And we're reusing that 1-bedroom home design with some tweaks for this project.
Thank you.
And Brian did discount from Simple City Designs his architectural services for us, which we really appreciate.
Any other questions for Megan? Great. Okay. Thank you, Megan, as always.
Thank you for considering.
Yep. And again, once again, public meeting is November the 5th, that first Wednesday in November. All right, moving right along to Valley CDC's 27 Crafts Ave Affordable Housing Project. I think we have Bill, is that right?
Yes,
Here
that's
to
correct.
present. Thank you for hanging in there for the ones that came before you. So you
No,
are-
it's been fascinating. I love sticking around and listening to all the presentations. I'm happy that everybody has had me here. I just wanted to just make sure I can share my screen and if everybody can see it. Okay. Well, thank you again, committee members. I'm with Bill Wommeldorf. I'm with Valley CDC. I'm the project manager for 27 Crafts Ave in Northampton. This is a project that is near and dear to our hearts. It's a downtown infill lot, and we actually went in for CPA funding in 2023, and I'll talk to kind of what that helped us accomplish and kind of why we're here today. But first, I wanted to kind of just get people up to speed on the project. So the location is downtown. It's actually behind City Hall, and I'll show you a graphic of where it is actually, because most people are it's an exciting thing that people drive by it all the time and they're like, wow, I didn't know you can put a building there. But it's directly next to the bus station and the bike path, and it really promotes that choice of mobility for the residents that are hopefully going to live there. Um, the location here is actually kind of, if you know where the lower parking lot is, by the Annex building and City Hall, there's a retaining wall that walks up to the upper lot. That's actually that's the property at 27 Crafts Ave. You can see the shape of it right there. It was carved off from two different city-owned properties. And it was actually really dated back prior administration when there was a unhoused report that was like a study that was brought to our attention where there was, I think, a lot of homeless encampments by the river that got wiped out from a flood. This is a while ago now, and that was kind of something that catalyzed this climate resilience and homelessness into this project, and what allowed the city council to really look for solutions. And the report did show that creating affordable housing, but also taking city-owned property that wasn't being utilized in an effective way, doing an RFP to developers on the purpose of getting affordable housing. And Valley CDC put in a proposal for that, which was ultimately selected. And in 2022 that was approved, and in 2023 in May that we actually closed on the property. And what does that RFP require? It required that we meet a really strenuous passive house standard. So it has to be an all-electric building and a really high efficiency building. We must create at least 20 studio apartments to people who are majority at 30% of the area median income. This is what we call extremely low income. And then there's a reverter. So if we don't show progress, it actually reverts back to the city. So the project has a lot of benefits that we see. I think the big one and one that we always bring up is the retaining wall and the staircase structure is there was a capital needs assessment that was done that shows that it's falling apart. It's spalling in the concrete, and we know it's something that the city is going to have to replace one way or the other. And there was a genius idea that was created, which was, let's build the building there that will effectively be the retaining wall. And that was kind of the strategy that would help the city save some money, but in another way, it takes a parcel that otherwise wouldn't get taxed and puts it onto the tax rolls. So it generates the city some additional revenue while removing additional costs for the city. And it does that, just on the baseline of it, but we're also looking to create affordable housing on the lot, which we believe is going to help spur downtown business, and also creating that housing in such a way that it is high efficient for our goals as a city to be carbon neutral. So we're really hitting on a lot of priorities of the city. It's been a project that we've been working hand in glove with the city planning office on, just because of the close proximity, but also because of the real need of the project. So what have we done in the community? I think the first and foremost is we've went out and we've met with other residents who are living kind of in similar situations, either in a shelter or living in permanent supportive housing, and really understood what was important for them in housing development, and what we can do differently to respond to the needs of the folks who are actually going to be living here. So the design was really brought before we even drew anything on paper. We met with I think probably 4 or 5 different housing complex residents. We've met with folks who are at shelter, and we took all that and kind of got the plans really fine-tuned ahead of the construction drawings. But we also met with direct abutters to understand the concerns of the property being so close to other buildings, responding to the types of shoring methods we would do to reduce vibrations, and a lot of logistics that I think will help ease the concerns of other neighbors there. But we also have met with the Downtown Business Association, which we believe was really impactful for the project to make sure that we're addressing the needs of the community. And what came out of that was adding some more workforce housing. So adding more at that 60% AMI threshold, and adding a few more units there in that area, just because those are the folks who are going to be working here in downtown Northampton and are ultimately getting priced out of the downtown, are now going to be able to walk around right from their apartment, be able to go work and use the services that are directly abutting the property. So we feel really great about the unit mix. We think it's going to really work well for the downtown. It's 30 apartments, all studios with enhanced code accessibility, where we'll be doubling the required accessible apartments. We'll also be providing a few apartments to clients of the Department of Mental Health. And you can see in orange here what our income thresholds are. So 6% AMI are really folks who are out there struggling, making minimum wage, are really looking for a place to live downtown. We believe that by not having a car and being able to live downtown, you're going to also increase disposable income that could be used for those abutting businesses. We've thought really long and hard about the massing on the site, with it being such a key prominent location. Really are conforming to the zone-based code, which is Northampton. It's a very rigorous code, and it allows for a lot of different geometry and articulation of the facade. We brought in Joan Whitsitt Architects out in Greenfield. They really are a great architecture firm. They think on the massing much more than any local firm here does. And what we can see is the kind of the evolution of the massing, meeting the zoning code. This project was permitted as of right in this central business side district. And we actually got that planning board permit in August of 2023. Here's the exterior. So a few things I wanted to kind of bring attention to is on the bottom right is the view from Main Street. So I think the first, and this is driving down Crafts Ave, we made sure that the building, even though it's 6 stories, is going to be well underneath the city hall. We think that was a really important feature of the building. And even though it is 6 stories, it reads like a 4-story building abutting to a 5-story building. And I think it really does well at kind of matching the existing typography of those taller buildings in our downtown, and not trying to speak too loud, but also to know that density is really important to the success of the community in a walkable downtown. So this was something that we met with the historical commission on, and because it's in a national district, we did get Mass Historic's comments and have incorporated those into the design. We think it's a really elegant look at kind of creating that city fabric of the downtown that we value. And so what we've done to the site here is we have all indoor bike storage. There's going to be a new accessible crosswalk. We're not losing any permanent loss of public parking. Will still all be maintained on Crafts Ave. There will be 2 spots on the upper lot that will be relocated to a pretty nearby parking lot. And moving inside the building, starting with the first floor. So the upper stories will have apartments. The first story will have offices, which will house a on-site property manager and an on-site resident service coordinator. We'll also have some amenity, kind of like a common space, bike rooms. And then the area that's kind of embedded into the hillside is going to be a kind of a mechanical area. The studio apartments are kind of set up like this on floors 2 through 4. On the 5th floor, there is a kind of a tenanted space that we imagine being a multi-purpose room, which will open up into a roof deck. The roof deck we found a lot of value in because the site doesn't lend itself to a lot of outdoor space. So I think it was important for us to bring some outdoor space in for the residents here. And then here's the top floor. Here's a typical studio. So what we've done in the past, our Valley has a variety of different single room occupancy apartments. We have enhanced SROs, single room occupancy. But these will be really true studio apartments with a full kitchen, bedroom, and bathroom. Talking about the staff on site, on the first floor here, we will have that property management resident service coordinator function, which I really will help the success of the building long term, reducing emergency calls and other items that are more properly addressed by an on-site staff member, and having that I think is going to be really instrumental. The community room, roof deck, laundry, bike storage are going to add to the project. These are stuff that are almost kind of prerequisites now. If you don't plan for it, then you really got to understand how the building's going to be functioning. What we've done to date here is these projects are slow. They take a while, and in 2023, 2024, we put in an application for the first round of CPA funds. And we did this really strategically. We brought up this item to the committee at the time. It's really important for us to get local funds early in the project. It really helps us solicit and get more additional state and federal funding. It's really, especially in a competitive environment, it's really almost a prerequisite. And I'm happy to announce that we successfully were able to get additional state funding for the project, thanks to CPA for putting in some early funds. We were able to secure the Department of Energy Resources decarbonization grant, and additional funding that will be kind of permanent funds to the project that are what we call gap fillers for development of this size. Allows us to go into this big state funding round with funding already, and that's super important because it's unfortunately a really competitive environment out there, and we really need local support to succeed. And that's what we're going in here for the remainder. This was something that we discussed back in 2023 and 2024, that we would be looking for 800,000 in CPA. But we understand resources are tight on the local level, and we didn't want to go in for the 800 in the earlier round, just a little bit that we can then kind of leverage and bring in additional state funding into the project. So we're here. We are at 90% construction drawings. We're well advanced, and we are ready to go into the state funding round in early next year. And a part of that success is really hinging on getting the CPA application. The other grants we've secured for the project do have time-sensitive deadlines. The state funding round is only once a year, so it's pretty crucial for us for this timing to all work itself out. That state funding round I'm mentioning is in February of 2026. If awarded in that round, we would look to start construction in 2027. It would be a quick 12 to 14 month construction, well executed, something that we've been working with the contractor on currently to optimize the plan for constructability, and getting occupancy in early or middle of 2028 is the current target. So the local request, it is a big dollar amount, but it is a small fraction of the project. We really do leverage the local funds to get a much more sizable investment from the state into the city, and CPA is really the time-tested strategy for us. It's worked on all of our projects to date, and especially right now. I mean, the environment right now is super highly constricted in resources, more so than ever before. If we're not coming in with this significant amount of local support, we will not get funded in this upcoming round. And that's something that I just wanted to leave folks with. Again, I really appreciate the CPA committee, because without this, we really don't have a project that can get off the ground. And this is something that we believe is going to be truly impactful to the downtown, for a variety of reasons, but to the residents that it'll serve. Again, I'm William, or Bill, and thank you. I'll take questions, and anything from here. Let me just stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Bill. Questions from committee members? Chris Hellman?
I was going to give my colleagues an opportunity to jump in before I did, but thank you, William. It's always a pleasure to have you all come in because your projects are so thoughtful and so thorough. And I also have to say that the exterior elevations that you provided really helped me envision the project because I've been trying to figure out how you're going to cram 30 units into that spot, and it looks like you found an elegant way to do it. I just have a quick question. When we were looking at a couple of the municipal buildings for some construction a couple years ago, we did a tour in that area, and it was indicated to us that there's a drainage problem that starts behind the Academy of Music and runs sort of all the way along that area from the Academy to the site where you are and the retaining wall that we're going to lose. I'm assuming you I mean, I know you're aware of it, but I'm assuming you've addressed it, but I just wanted to hear anything you might have to say on that.
Yeah, I think this project actually coincides with a unique opportunity that we're going to look to collaborate with the city on waterproofing for the, I'm calling it the annex building, but it's one of the base of the hill. And then reinforce the underground drainage in the upper lot. And basically we brought in civil engineers to help design how that drainage should work. I do agree it's malfunctioning currently. It's not, and I think it's aiding to the depreciation of that staircase. And but that is something that this project, it helps kind of open up areas that otherwise wouldn't get opened up and provide the infrastructure. And, you know, selfishly too, for the city, I mean, this is something that, you know, us as Valley CDC are going to be investing into the project to, you know, upgrade and improve the drainage of that area around the building, just by the nature of us disturbing it. So it's a great opportunity for the city to help solve some of that drainage issues.
Agreed. Thank you. Thank you for
Lemmy?
Hi, thanks for all your hard work. And um, I had a question about the on-site coordinator and the management company. I guess I'm sort of curious about like how accountable they will be to residents. I know that some of those coordinators and other sites have had some issues with like residents and like accessing the public meeting space and that kind of thing. And I guess I'm just curious about like how y'all like I saw that you surveyed unhoused people, but like how do you actually involve them in the decision making on these projects to make sure that they're actually sustainable and not gonna, like basically not be suitable to like actually supporting them?
Yeah, no, I think that's an excellent question. I mean, right now in the development world, I mean, the resident service coordinator function is relatively new. It's something that, you know, historically Valley's been in doing development since the 70s. It really wasn't until the last maybe 5 or 6 years that every new development we do, we create the operating budget in such a way that we can have a well-suited resident service coordinator function on staff, and that's super important because it's incredibly expensive to, you know, have that half full-time equivalent person on site in addition to the property manager, especially for a property that, you know, otherwise is really, you know, it's all affordable, it's highly restricted, it doesn't cash flow. These projects typically do not support senior debt or hard debt in the traditional way that other developments do. So it's really important that we craft the development budget to, you know, capitalize a lot of funds. So there's gonna be a lot of funds set aside for services for the building for the first 15 years, and that's something that is super important to making sure that that function of the building, the resident service coordinator, stays and is well funded, because I think, you know, often what you see is it gets cut out of the budget, and I think that's something that we want to make sure that doesn't happen in this instance, and making sure we hire for somebody that is well qualified and trained for it. We do have other Northampton developments that do have a resident service coordinator function, and this one will be probably combined with one other property, so they'll kind of they'll go between the two properties, but it'll be well staffed for the unit size.
Jeff?
Let me.
Thank you. I appreciate your proposal very much, especially the 30% AMI targets that you're going for there. Two questions, not really necessarily related. Can you go over how the applicants are selected to reside there? And the second one is you referred to significant local support being necessary to access the next round, especially the state funding round. Is it fair to say that significant local support means the full amount that you are requesting in this round? We have a lot of projects that, and we tried to ask that to earlier tonight to another presenter, but I don't know that they understood the question. Is that given the limited resources statewide, which you also referred to, and could you talk a little bit more about that? Is it the case that you really do need the 600,000 fund this time around in order to fully make this development a success?
Yeah, and I'll answer your first question first, which is the how residents are selected to live at this development. In the most cases, for most of the apartments, they go through a lottery process. So we just finished one for our redevelopment of the former nursing home, which was 60 apartments. We had over 4,000 applicants that put in an application for the lottery. We draw names for folks at the end of a 2 or 3 month window. You know, it's sobering, honestly, to see so many people looking for housing. There, I think out of the 4,000, there was, I think, a 1,700 of folks noted that they were currently unhoused. So it's joyful for the folks who get into the apartments. Obviously, it shows the demonstrated need for housing, particularly for folks who are currently unhoused. It's an incredible amount of people that are looking right now. And the lottery is really the way that the most affordable housing in Massachusetts kind of fairly goes and gets folks in without it being a biased approach. And I say 95% of it's like that. There's the Department of Mental Health units are closed referrals that go through like a clientele list through the Department of Mental Health, particularly their local office. So most of the units do go through the lottery. But to answer your second question, and let me know if there's any clarification on that first one though. But the second one is, you know, if we were to go in and get less local support in this round, will we have success in the state round? I think it's a very valid question. I saw it coming, and I don't have a great answer for it, but I think I'm just gonna describe, you know, what the environment's like right now. There's a maximum amount of subsidy we can ask per unit, and the state has a kind of upper tier of that is 100K of kind of soft debt subsidy per apartment. Right now we're asking for 130 to 150, so we're well above that upper limit. Right now we're asking for about $26,000 per unit for a CPA. We think it's a balanced approach. I think the state really isn't going to want to fund it if we go any further than what we are at right now. They do have a little bit of tolerance for supportive service projects like this that are kind of high need and critical, particularly for the extremely low income, but not much higher than what we're already going in. We definitely have our resources kind of dialed in to kind of maximize each resource that we can, and I would feel hesitant to you know, go to the state and look for more soft debt, which is inevitably what would be the alternative.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of painting the picture, I guess, of what that environment looks like. It's definitely one that, you know, there's a lot of projects going in. There's not a lot of projects that are going to be funded. But I should say I'm very confident in this project because it's one that is being really shepherded by the city. It's one that I think is really important to the state. They really have a focus on extremely low income housing, and I think this is something that is really going to hit all the boxes, especially with the advanced plans that we have and kind of shovel readiness that the project brings. So thank you for your question, Jeff. Let me
No,
know if
thank
there's
you.
any clarification.
No, that was fine. Thank you very much.
Other questions for Bill? I have a couple quick ones, Bill,
Yeah.
and a comment. My comment is 4,000 applicants for 60 units for Prospect Meadows, I believe it's called. That's just a stunning statistic. 1,700 of those unhoused. Are any federal funds part of this project?
Yeah, right now the main bulk of the federal funding actually comes in through the federal low-income housing tax credit, which is really the anchor of the project. It's something that it's not direct funds from the federal government. It's a tax credit that we get a private investment into the project for the benefit of that tax credit. But there's no other federal funds other than I think there's some of the energy tax credits as well, which are tied to the geothermal system that are also planned for the project. But other than that, there's no direct subsidy from the federal government.
So nothing that will be clawed back to your knowledge.
No, and I think typically how a lot of the affordable housing is the state usually gets the federal tranches of funds and then they kind of dole it out through the state means. But what we are seeing is a significant constriction of that state resource currently. It was something that not right away happened, but it's something that as we now start to go into another year or two, we are seeing a large diminishing of that state resource, and thus kind of less projects getting funded. And I think what we're seeing is a lot of projects in Boston and kind of that greater region, not as much in Western Mass. So it's super important for us to kind of leverage the resources to help show that support.
Thank you. One other question, if I may. 30 units coming in at $20 million comes into 666,000 or something per unit for under 400 square feet. I'm always astounded at the cost at that cost. How does that compare statewide? Is that what projects are coming in at?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen definitely an increase in pricing over the last few years. I know historically, a few years ago, Kate Racer, who runs the local or the state housing office, would say, if your project starts with a 5, then it's in the trash. Now she says if your project starts with an 8, it's in the trash. So that's kind of you can kind of see the milestone change. It's common to see small apartments in Boston going up for 800. That's something that it's kind of unfortunate. It truly is. It's something that just the high cost of construction currently and all the different friction costs that exacerbate that total development cost per unit. But it is the case, and we definitely always look for ways to value engineer a project, but there's only so much you can take out of it.
Thank you. Any other questions excuse me, from committee members for Bill? Paul?
Yeah, a couple of questions. First of all, I'm assuming that this construction is going to coincide with the redesign of Main Street in Northampton. I'm wondering if that's going to pose any challenges to the timeline of creating this. And secondly, kind of following up on Lemmy's points, is there any thought given to creation of a resident council that would be tasked with looking at the quality of life issues and property maintenance that they would take ownership of?
Yeah, so I'll answer the first question. I think it does look like it's starting to coincide with the redesign of Main Street, although it's two big kind of things kind of coming at different speeds, so it's hard to tell right this instance. But we did build the lumber yard project, which was a collaboration with Wayfinders during another major road reconstruction. We find there's some benefits to doing so. You definitely utility connections and other infrastructure work is just tend to be aided by it. You know, it's kind of doing, you know, the ripping the Band-Aid off, so to speak, where the construction's just all at once and it's done. But you know, obviously there's cons associated with it. What we will find is we will, you know, temporarily utilize some of the parking that is on Crafts Ave for construction. It's inevitable. It's kind of a nature of how close it is. But I think one of the goals here is to optimize the construction time frame so it's expeditious as possible, minimizing as much disruption to the public. And a way we're doing that is we're going to utilize the roundhouse lot, which was worked in with the deed transfer with the city to utilize that as kind of lay down space for construction, kind of moving as much stuff out of the site and out of the downtown that we can into more ample kind of flat zones that you know, won't impact the public as much. So more thought is going to be put into it as construction approaches, but the design is really the key aspect right now that we have direct control on.
And then, Bill, is there any thought to creation of a resident council to help manage the place?
Yeah, that's a great question. I know Valley CDC really looks to, you know, bring in board members that are serve the community in a variety of different manners. And that's kind of that really is a cornerstone of our pledge for equity and inclusion. Is to bring in voices who are currently living in public housing or have lived in public housing to, you know, kind of be in our leadership. And I don't know if that directly doesn't answer your question, but I think the influence of that into the selection of staff and selection of who, you know, the resident service coordinator function is and what they do and how it's managed all trickles down from that, and it's something that we keep a really close eye to, and making sure that you know, we're delivering something that meets the needs of the folks who are currently being housed in our properties and future properties to come.
Nice, thank you.
Any other questions for Bill?
Thanks, Paul.
As always, thank you, Bill, for your work. And again, input from the public on our November 5th meeting. Great, thank you very much.
Sounds good. Thanks, Chair.
All right, last but not least is the Mineral Hills South acquisition from the Office of Planning and Sustainability. Sarah, who is leading us in that discussion?
So this one's me. So Carolyn, Director Mish could not make it this evening. And as I think you all know, I also staff the Conservation Commission for the city. So I will remove my CPA hat and put on my conservation hat for this presentation. So my screen.
In the interest of time, Sarah, and given that we've gone over a little, we give you 2 minutes to do
Okay,
this
that's fine. I'll be really
entire
speedy.
presentation.
I'll be super zoomy.
I am joking.
All righty. So this is an acquisition that the Conservation Commission and the Office of Planning and Sustainability are really excited about. Here is a view. Lori Sanders took these pictures. That's why I am the subject of some of them. So Lori and I went out to do an ecological assessment of this property in the early summer. And, you know, based on a desktop analysis of this property, we weren't optimistic that it would be really exciting. We thought it would be some really nice woodland, nice upland, but we were really impressed with what we found, and it is really a tremendous opportunity for the city. So as I think you all know, the open space recreation and multi-use trail plan is really the guiding document for the Office of Planning and Sustainability and the Conservation Commission, as well as the Recreation Commission, in making long-term decisions about what types of land to protect, what types of agricultural properties are important, and how to move forward with open space acquisitions. And this one really ticked off a lot of the boxes. This is our most significant priority for the year. You know, sometimes we have 1 or 2 big acquisitions. Sometimes it's years in between as we protect more property and more property gets to be developed within the city. There are fewer and fewer of these. This is a 72-acre total parcel in the southwestern corner of the city that's really ecologically interesting and is a high priority in the open space and recreation plan. So the red circle is about where this is. This is in the Loudville section of the city, in the sort of the Four Corners area where all the Hamptons get together and have a little party. Additional locus, the subject property is made up of 3 different parcels, but they're all lumped together here and shown in blue. And this is now adjacent to several other protected open spaces that didn't exist, just 10 or 20 years ago. So this is now part of the Mineral Hills South Greenway. You can see the Ridge Conservation Area that was created when the Ridge subdivision was installed. That was a cluster subdivision that required permanent open space protection. Where it says Mineral Hills Greenway was originally intended to be a full subdivision. That fell through and ended up being fully permanently protected by the city, save for a few Habitat for Humanity lots, which were able to be carved out. And if you look to the south, just over the East Hampton line, it also connects to the Hartnett Manhan Memorial Forest and the Fournier Agricultural Preservation Restriction. So this is really part of a larger protected forested block. It's also next to the North Branch of the Manhan River and includes some wetlands not shown here. All right. So here's an overview of the site. You can see to the left side of the screen is the Manhan. To the east side of the screen to the right is a former gravel pit, which a developer is currently in the process of preparing a cluster subdivision plan, which will likely result in these intervening parcels here being permanently protected. So that nothing's been filed at this point, but we do anticipate that coming in the next year or so. One of the really exciting things about this parcel is its existing trails and opportunity to create potentially some accessible trails to the most interesting parts of the site. So that this has been maintained by the Crescione family over the past probably 75 years. So I don't know if anyone remembers swimming at Clear Falls. It was an incredibly cold recreational facility where you could jump right in this cold water fishery stream on the hottest days of summer, and it was a great place to hang out. And the family that the city currently has a purchase and sale with are the daughters of Sam, who own that facility. So again, these are just some fun shots of what's been maintained and what could potentially be an accessible trail. A lot of wetlands on the site that were not mapped, not shown on the Mass GIS. This was at a much wetter time of the year before the drought struck us later in the summer, but these are trails through the woods that had been maintained over the years. These are some really, we were, when Lori and I went out, we thought, well, we'll just see a bunch of, sort of traditional woods, and it'll certainly be worth protecting, but we weren't expecting to see the really interesting things that we did find. On the left is bearberry, which is certainly not rare, but is definitely unique to Northampton and not found in a lot of different places. A lot of exposed ledge, a lot of rocky acidic soils, which create some interesting lichens and potential for maybe some rare and endangered species. And there may be some rare bees here that really like this type of habitat. There may be some rare lichens and rare plants. So we look forward to doing a more in-depth ecological survey of what's really around. This is a carnivorous plant, which again isn't rare in Massachusetts, but is not common and is certainly not found in a lot of places in Northampton. Another shot of exposed ledge. This is a really unique geological formation for Northampton. There's not a lot of places where you can see this exposed ledge and also get really dramatic views of the Mount Tom range. So this was interesting and exciting. A little bit cloudy in this picture, but again, really, really nice views of the Mount Tom range to the south and east. And some perched wetlands down on the bottom. This is great habitat for different types of rarer birds. Eastern towhee was readily heard all around the site, which is not something you hear a ton of locally. And if we spend a lot of time there, I would expect that we'd see a lot more bird species that are not common to other places in Northampton. This is a plant that Lori Sanders really likes saying the name of. This is bastard toadflax, which is again, not especially common in Northampton because of this rare acidic type habitat. Tons and tons of mountain laurel, which is often sort of the bane of our existence when we go to create a lot of trails because it's so tough to get through. But there's an extensive trail network already through this property, so that's not something we have to worry about. And it was really beautiful and striking in the springtime. Dominant chestnut forest, which I think tells us a lot about what this used to look like. If we can put on our magic glasses and see what the property looked like before the chestnut blight happened. This is probably what a lot of forests in Northampton appeared to be. This portion of Northampton is also known for its mining. So on the right, you can see me standing in an exploratory mining pit. What everybody was hoping to find was silver. They didn't find any silver. They did find lead in its native form, which is galena, and that ended up being used for a lot of bullets and other things during the Revolutionary War. We don't know if this site was actually mined for galena, but this is pretty clear evidence that someone was out there trying to either market this as a potential site for silver or to actually mine for galena. And there are other really well-known galena and silver exploratory mines in the Four Corners area. And then when you get towards the rear of the property, there's a lot of seeps, there's a lot of wetlands and vernal pools. Again, not mapped, didn't show up on the desktop analysis, which is one of the reasons why you can't just depend on statewide mapping. You really have to go out there and see what's out there. And then on the right is Swamp Beacon, which is a unique fungi that thrives on decaying material in water and isn't seen around a whole ton. Here's a vernal pool towards the rear of the property. So back in this area, we're getting towards the edge of Glacial Lake Hitchcock. So I would anticipate that local colleges and high schools would want to use this as a hands-on geology site. You can really see where the land slopes down in the back, and the topography really starts to change. And then beyond that, you're seeing quarrying and mineral operations, which is typical of this type of geology. There's a stream towards the rear of the property. And just an overview of what is mapped. So there definitely are some resources here. So biomap local landscapes, biomap local and rare species. There certainly could be opportunities for some rare reptiles here, potential for rare plants. And then we're also very close to the biomap local aquatic habitat at the Manhan River, which is a cold water fishery. So just a summary of the values of this. Why is this a unique opportunity? Why is it worth funding? Proximity to other conservation land. It's really, it's a hole in existing protected land and certainly would be under threat of development or conversion to another use. Existing trail network that links to others. We already have a trail network just right next door leading back to the Ridge subdivision, trail network within the Ridge, trail network within the rest of the Southern Mineral Hills. And this already links right to that. There's no transition between public and private property here. This hasn't been posted, and I would suspect that lots of people have already hiked here and have no idea it's private property. Lots of varied habitats, so that exposed ledge, different types of wetlands, oak forest, chestnut forest, a lot of different habitats in a fairly small 72-acre area. It's really an acoustic sanctuary, so once you're back in the woods, you're not hearing a lot of human sounds. You're definitely not hearing any traffic. You're not hearing leaf blowers and lawnmowers or other things that are pretty typical for a more developed area. One thing we were really excited to see was really few invasive plant species to manage. There were, you could count on one hand the number of invasives, which is really unique in an area that has been disturbed. So other than a parking lot that had been created for Clear Falls, and a few problems just along the trails, there was really not much to deal with. Existing parking already there. As I mentioned, there's a site that had been used for parking for Clear Falls that could potentially be converted back to a parking lot if necessary. And it just has really interesting geology and human history. And then here's just a few shots of some interesting things we saw on our just a quick 3-hour visit. It reveals a lot about the property. And seeing, fawns are not unique. We see deer everywhere, but it's always great to see a fawn, and they're cute. Throw that in. So I didn't include any budget slides or anything, but I'd be happy to discuss more about those if anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Sarah. Questions for Sarah? Can you tell us the status of the state grant that you are hoping will come through and pay for about half the project?
Yeah, we don't know at this point. Every year this is announced on a different schedule. Applications are due in July. They've been announced anywhere from September to January. Grants as a whole are being announced much later than they have been due to uncertainties about federal funding. So although there is no federal funding directly involved in the local acquisitions for natural diversity grant, there are other programs within the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs that do depend on federal funding. So there's a lot of things up in the air, and it's leading to a lot of later grant announcements. So I'm hoping that we will know before the recommendations go to council whether that grant application is successful or not, but there's no timeline at this point.
Thank you.
And we are really optimistic that that grant will be successful. I think this is a really compelling application. But due to some deficiencies in the state mapping that we noted, and the competitiveness of the application as a whole, there are no guarantees, but we are optimistic.
Devin.
Nice presentation, Sarah. Does the planning office used to keep a small pocket of money that, I don't want to denigrate it by calling it a slush fund, but we would occasionally fund through CPA grants an ability for there to be some management of properties or some legal cost. Do you have a term for that account that I should be using?
So we do have a conservation fund that we use for due diligence and pre-acquisition activities. So we've already used some of that for the necessary due diligence on this property. Were the state grant not to come through, we probably would dip into that a little bit for some of the environmental assessments and other necessary work. But there are other acquisition opportunities that we're also looking at that we would also hope to use that for.
Well, like all the other applicants, I think we're going to squeeze a little bit here and a little bit there. And that's what I was wondering, if there was a way to execute this if we did. Thank you.
Lemmy?
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. I want to ask what your favorite animal is, but I'll refrain. But I'm actually asking about like the timeline of it. Like, let's say we funded half. Is the property owners like willing to kind of like is it a flex, is it urgent? Like, will they sell to somebody else if we don't buy it, for example?
Yeah, so our option will expire in early 2026. The family is conservation minded and do want to protect the property. But I don't know if they would wait beyond that. They may decide to sell to a private developer at that point.
Other questions for Sarah? Sarah, I find it so interesting that property that has undergone a lot of disturbances has so few invasives. Why do you think that is when that's such a major management issue and biodiversity headache on so
Yeah, so
many city
so the property's never been logged, and logging is a way that invasive species often get introduced. Never intentionally. No forestry company is bringing in invasives to plant there, but by opening up the canopy, by allowing even like birds to drop seeds and machinery to deposit things that they may have unintentionally brought in within the site, that's a way that we're often seeing invasives coming in. A lot of the trail work was done before many of these invasives were a big problem. So most recently it's been handwork, but the bulk of the machinery driven work was done probably 60 or 70 years ago when a lot of these invasives weren't really a problem. If you walk around the fringes of the site, you can definitely see your typical invasives. There's a little bit of knotweed, there's some bittersweet, but the interior of the site is happily pretty invasives free.
Any other questions for Sarah? All right. We have gone through all five. Thank you all for your patience. I am glad that the pump track folks did not take up any longer of the time that they took up, or that everybody else didn't go by their example. So it's nice that we got through all five of these. Any other further comments about any of these projects that folks wanted to share at this moment? Martha?
I have more of a question, Sarah. What is our bonding ability for some of these? I mean, which would be eligible?
So because the pump track is on an existing recreational facility that's owned by the city, that could potentially be a bonding option. Acquisition certainly would be. Crafts Avenue, because it is no longer owned by the city, should not be, but I can verify that. Scoreboard would be, but it's such a small expense, it would not make sense to do that. So yeah, so that's it.
Thank you.
So the main project is the pump track. Is that correct?
Pump track and open space acquisition.
And the open space. Okay, I missed that. Great.
I have
Any
one
other-
quick question, Brian.
Yeah, Paul.
If we funded everything fully, it would be the $1.974 million. And it sounds like we would be about $38,000 over budget. Is that really the margin we're dealing with?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, with the Sarah's hope is that the land use acquisition grant comes in, that would shave off 330 something thousand of that, so that the projects would come in at 1.661 million.
Okay.
And we would be almost 300,000 under budget on that. But again, Paul, you're new to the committee. This is our entire fiscal year budget for this session as well as the fall session.
Yeah.
So that's something that we will be taking into consideration when we meet again.
Thank you.
Sarah.
Yeah, so just a quick snapshot. So assuming that the state land grant was successful, all of the applications this round would total just over or 1.661 million. And there's 1.9 million available, a little bit plus for the entire fiscal year.
Okay.
Any other questions about the projects? Thank you for pulling that up, Sarah. Okay, so remember, no meeting in 2 weeks. It's down as a potential date on our calendar, so nothing on the 29th. Our next meeting will be the 5th, where we will be listening to public comment. If so inclined, we'll move forward with our deliberations. In the past, of course, we have not done that. We've waited for 2 weeks following that, the 17th, I believe it is, to be deliberating. Is there any other business not foreseen when the agenda was published?
Brian, on that note, I can't there's a good chance I won't be able to attend the November 5th meeting. I'm having elective surgery done that morning, and I don't know what kind of condition I'm going to be in. So, while I'll take the opportunity to watch the reruns of the presentations, I would humbly request that we not consider recommendations that night, because I would really rather be there for that if I could be.
Thank you, Chris, and good luck with your surgery. We hope all goes well. Any other business not foreseen when the agenda was published? Paul, once again, welcome to the committee. We appreciate your voice and your questions, and we will see everybody in 3 weeks on November the 5th. Sarah, as always, thank you for your work, and happy Halloween, folks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.